Welcome, 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 everybody, to another episode of Voices Behind the Mask. And if you're here for the first time, I know that you're wondering, what is Voices Behind the Mask? Voices Behind the Mask is the talk show where we unmask real people with real stories that are intended to impact and transform your life and ensure that you level up and you understand that it is now your season to go, to grow, and to glow in your purpose. Who am I? I'm none other than Alicia Foot, your host. Welcome, 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 everybody. Just some house rules. Please ensure that your microphones are kept on mute. All right, thank you very much. Today we have with us a very special guest, and I am about to tell you about that person in a minute. All right, this person that is with us is Steve, the Legacy. All right, and so the question is, who is Steve, the Legacy? And so let me tell you a little about him. Steve the Legacy is a CEO and founder of Steve the Legacy LLC. Steve is an inventor. He's an author, a limiting belief specialist. He helps entrepreneurs and students connect their beliefs with their skill sets by using research-based mental strategies, components of self and life experiences. Steve, known to his friends as Steve the Legacy, is a certified speaker under the late Jim Rohn. Steve holds a bachelor's degree in business management from Cheney University. He has spent the last 5 years plus developing his mind to help navigate his limiting beliefs into unlimiting beliefs, presenting for students, athletes, entrepreneurs, and providing in-person or virtual presentations, professional development workshops, and coaching on self-mastery. Act and grow your belief today. And what I did not mention, I don't know how many of you know about TEDx. I learned about TEDx while I was in Jamaica. And TEDx is that platform that every speaker, if you are a speaker on any level, whether a motivational speaker or otherwise on any topic, all the experts and speakers, that is where you want to go. And guess what? Steve is a TEDx speaker. So at this time, I will allow Steve to open his microphone and just say hi to everybody before we go into the meat of the matter.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for this. I'm excited to be here today.
And I'm excited to have you. I love to follow my guests. I've been following you for quite a while. And, I'm really impressed with everything that you have been doing. And, from one melanin skin to another, I am just so proud of you. The things that you do, and we'll talk a little about that in a minute. A lot of people, will be, afraid to step out and do the stuff. And you and I had a conversation, and we're going to talk about it. Let me not jump the gun. So everybody knows that when we start the talk show, we usually have this section or this segment. All right.
Okay.
And so I'll be asking you some questions that the hope is that nobody else has asked you these questions. All right. So the name, because on my flyer, I had you initially as Steve Legacy, and I went back and I was like, okay, it's Steve the Legacy. And I'm like, okay, but that is not your actual last name. But then when I went through your bio, I understood that this was a name given to you by your friends, but you kept the name. So I need to know why you were given the name and why did you keep it? Why did you run with that name and not, another name?
That's a great question. It wasn't the friends that gave me the name. What I did was, I'm a junior. So normally when you're a junior, you're actually the legacy of your father. My dad passed on when I turned 18. I was
Mhm.
a freshman in college going to training at the time. And I was really in a very, very dark place. So it's 20 years went by, and then something inside of me one night said that I want to speak. I want to be able to be an impact to society. What would be that name? For years, everybody messed up my last name, Stotts. They called me Scott, Snots, and all. So
Could you pronounce it for us? I thought it was Scots.
it's Stotts, Stotts. But for years, the kids shoot me up in school, calling me Snots and Scots and all that, all the good stuff. So I was thinking of a name, and I said Steve the Legacy, and it stuck. It's like it really stuck by me, and now it's starting to be shortened to just the Legacy. I'm starting, people just call me the Legacy, and the great thing behind that word is that it's not about not only what you can do for the future, but it's what you can do now.
Yes.
And that's what the impact I wanted to give to my daughter. So in the memory of my father, see the legacy, but also my daughter Layla, I want her to understand what I'm trying to help build and help expose her to for our legacy building right now at age 11, so that she can continue to pass that on once she gets older and things like that. So that's how the name came about, and I'm
All
sticking with it
right.
too.
Everybody knows I like to ask this question. So these are dodging questions, by the way. I didn't say that. So these are dodging questions. These are the questions you might have dodged, when you're on other interviews, because I know you, like I say, I've been watching you, I've been following you. And so I see that you were on another interview last week. So it's a good thing it was last week. It's this week. Yes. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in an Albany section of Philadelphia. It's a neighborhood not too far from North Philadelphia. And at that period of time, it was a very, very mixed area. I was looking at my eighth grade graduation picture, and I realized how many different races were in my class. And then it was so mixed. You have Caucasians, you have people from the Philippines, you had Spanish, you had um, Black. It was amazing. So in that area at that period of time when I was growing up, everybody wanted to play sports. My dad had a basketball in my hand at age 3. We all had these hoop dreams in the NBA, and everybody was chasing their goals and things like that. But once again, when life gets in the midst of really hitting you,
Mhm.
some things tend to change, if I would say. And but yeah, it was a great experience. And then I went to Roxborough High, which was kind of weird because it was on the other side of to me, other side of the city, other
Mhm.
side of the world. Never experienced that before, and I enjoyed that time over in Roxborough. Fell in love with the area. I love Manioc and Andorra. I don't know whoever's out there in Philadelphia. It's like a suburb version of Philadelphia. So
Okay.
that was very good too as well. And then I wound up going to Cheney. So that was an eye opener too. So that's the journey from Albany to Channing, and now I'm in the West Oak Lane section of Philadelphia, which is like not a suburbs, but it's just not too far from Albany.
Okay. What did you enjoy most about growing up in Philadelphia? What was your
The freedom of being a kid. Most people overlook their childhood. A lot of people are being traumatized by their childhood. It's amazing because it's only a short period of time, but for some reason, that short period of time, it kind of matches up for the whole period of who you are.
Mhm.
I could mention the childhood like it was yesterday, but you could ask me about college, and I probably can't remember. And college was really closer to this time now more than my childhood, but it's the impact, the freedom to be a kid. I mean, I remember the yelling and the screaming in the streets and the ball bouncing. I can't stand the ball bouncing now. I'm surprised the neighbors never complained, but the actual, the ball bouncing and kids yelling and playing tag and just didn't have no worries in the world. We didn't care about money. Money wasn't a factor. Whatever we want, we actually would get. So that's what I missed. That's what I love. And I was fortunate to have parents that allowed me to be.
Mhm.
Some people didn't have that luxury. Some people had to be an adult as a kid, you know, because things already happened.
But you
So
were allowed to be a child.
I was allowed, yeah, and that's the big thing, freedom to be a child. Some people don't have that freedom.
And that's very powerful though. You know, I've asked this question a lot, you know, on the show. And it's interesting, you know, a lot of people, and I've seen it with a lot of guests too, a lot of people are robbed of their childhood. You know, they did not get that opportunity to be a child, to just be free as a child, you know. A lot of individuals had responsibilities, you know, and so they didn't get that opportunity. So that's interesting, the way that you put it, you know, that freedom just to be a child. Let's go now a little bit into you know, your journey. And you and I talked, you know, earlier today, and I was saying, you know, everybody has a story.
Yes.
You know, everybody has a story. What is Steve Legacy's story?
Well, you know, I always had the urge of doing something great in the world. At first, I thought I was going to be basketball. I played basketball. That was my first love. That was something I thought will be the thing that will probably not only give mom the big house, but make dad proud. Um, they invested a whole lot into that. Well, it was a hobby, but they invested into it because they wanted me to be the best. They paid for the camps and the different organized basketball teams and everything like that. But something happened that really affected me in the journey. I did not learn that until later down in life when I got older, but my skill set in basketball was superb, right? But the belief in myself, I never worked on that.
Wow.
So it was easy for somebody to come into my mind and tell me that I'm not good enough, and I
Mm-hmm.
would believe them.
Mm-hmm.
And when I believed them, everything that may have practiced, all the skills I may have developed, all ceased and desist. And then you become handicapped from other people's thoughts of you. We hear different people like Les Brown talk about do not let nobody's opinion on you become your reality. I wish I would have heard of that back when I was 10,
Before.
11,
Mm-hmm.
12. You hear that now when you're adults. That's why you see so many adults in these seminars now because of brokenness of their lack of belief system. And that's why my first
Mm-hmm.
book that was dealing with the adulthood was the Act and Grow Belief because Think and Grow Rich was a good book, but sometimes people are really lost in their thought process with their mind that they think themselves out of even doing anything. But the thing that I learned about action, the thing that I learned about when you act first to develop the belief is that you make sure that your body is in a movable situation. Every time you move, you change the state of your thoughts. A lot of times when I was being badgered and being taunted by the peers as I was growing up, and I was in a handicap position. I didn't move. So what I did was I indulged and I engulfed all what they said to me. And I started to believe what they said about me,
Mm-hmm.
even though it wasn't true.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing but when you change, and that's why I say I can't say that I wish that never happened, because then the person that you're talking to today would not be who you're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a different version. I just had to come into understanding that some things in life, it's not always fair. You don't get what you want. You don't get what you need. You get what you deserve. And what I've
I love
learned,
that.
the first thing you have to do is serve to get what you deserve. Now,
Wow.
serving
I
can be
hope
a lot
somebody
of things.
caught that.
Yeah,
You don't get what you need, you get what you deserve. And first you have to
serve.
serve.
Yeah. Um, Jim Rohn said it best: "Service to many will lead you to greatness." So anybody want to be great out here in the world,
Serve.
you want to serve first.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always a fan favorite. Why? Because it's not monetary upfront right away. And
Mm-hmm.
and you want to be glad about that sometimes when I'm thinking about that because the chase is so fun. And you know about the chase of the dream. It's fun. It's the pursuit. Have you ever seen the movie Pursuit of Happiness? It was Will Smith indulged in that character of just how would it be if my life would be different?
Mm-hmm.
And what do I have to go through?
Mm-hmm.
What do I have to experience? And a lot of us, we don't want to experience that stuff. That's why you hear the success stories of the people that made it. It's all well and good, but I love to see. I want to find out what did they have to go
Mm-hmm.
through. No, no, let's take that back because I even changed it. I changed that statement this past week and I made a shirt out of it. No, what did they have to grow through, not go through? So I look at the childhood. Mom, dad did the best they could, but they couldn't fight all my battles. I had to learn as I grew up. I had to learn because I was trying to tap in. Now, what activated that was something, and I tell people, your activation could be either desperation or inspiration. Desperation is almost like a survival mode. Inspiration, somebody inspired you, you seen something, you get the chills and the butterflies, and I want to go forward. Desperation is like, look, I ain't got no other choice. There's no plan B.
So
Either
you
I can
just
do
got
these
to do
things
it. Mm-hmm.
or we're not going to do it at all. So when I struggled with panic attacks and anxiety attacks, my freshman year in college, I did not know the power that my mind can really penetrate and what you can create, even when the threat wasn't real. So I took that negative thing of, man, I can go to 0 to 100 with this anxiety and panic attacks, and my mind feel like I'm about to die. Heart is, but there's no threat, but it feel real. How can I apply that same energy to something I
Positively.
enjoy doing? So I said, Larry, all right, first of all, understand there's a concern. I used to always go to the ER visits. They always come back with the great board of health, and you leave that ER and you just be stumped like, yo, what is going on? They say everything's normal. What is happening? Like I'm feeling
Mm-hmm.
this stuff.
But you're feeling what you're feeling is real, but here you go to the emergency room and they're telling you it's all good.
Everything is normal. So now it's like, okay, here we go. Something is out of whack. You never trained your mind, Steve. If you knew how your mind was trained, then you will understand when symptoms like that came about that you know that it was something that, was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to start working on my mind. Now it took a long time to do that because first of all, you're still trying to convince yourself for years that hopefully something ain't wrong. Like I went through all the heart exams and I mean EKG, not it went from just the regular them with the stethoscope to them watching the heart, look at the heart. I even just had this recently, not too long ago, a bubble test where they shoot a bubble of saline in your vein to make sure that there's nothing wrong with your heart. It goes in, and then what it does is if it comes out, the bubble comes out on right side of the heart, they can see if there's a leak, if blood is leaking from there. So they wanted to rule out every little thing, any possible thing, because I was getting those symptoms. But I gotta understand is that anytime you have any physical symptoms that are affecting you, you gotta go back and find out what are you thinking about. What are your thoughts? What are you focused on right now that's causing the strife? Is your thoughts clean?
Mm-hmm.
Now the question is, how are you cleaning your thoughts? What are you? And this is why I wrote the book Freedom of Mind as the second book because a lot of us are so distracted and bombarded with information now that sometimes it's informational overload that you clutter your mind with fear, doubt, and disbelief that you have no room to showcase your passion. Why? Because you're so distracted that you can't even see what God has for you.
And let's talk a little about that, showcasing your passion. I listened to the portions of your TED Talk because I had signed up for the TED Talk, but things happened that Saturday. It was a Saturday, and then voices and a whole bunch of stuff were going on, and I missed it. And I'm going to be honest. So I was hoping you'd, push out some stuff, and you did, not all of it, but I did get a chance to see portions of it. And we're talking about, training. You spoke what I heard about, a lot of things that we are not taught in school and how important those things are. And when I listened to you, I was in agreement. And, you know, um, before I left the classroom, I was asked, I was given government and economics to teach, hence me now being, certified to teach entrepreneurship, bless the Lord. And what happened when I went into that classroom, I realized that these kids needed entrepreneurship more than they needed economics. And then their age too, they were ninth graders. And I was like, So I taught a little. I taught basic economics, but for the most part, I taught entrepreneurship. And when you and I had that conversation, and I told you, you know, what I did, I was not supposed to quote unquote do it. Can't be charged for it at this point because it's not was not even a state test. But state test, I'll get myself in trouble, but it was not state tested. And then this was basically, you know, around the area, and it gave me a skill set, you know, I never had. I had the practical knowledge, always doing business, but never had that that academic knowledge to back it up. And so now I'm able to teach people the skill sets that you need to, you know, step by step to become an entrepreneur. So my question, so I wanted you to tell us a little about, you know, why you spoke on that part, the topic you spoke on, and why you spoke on that particular topic.
So to bring people up to speed, the topic was, what if schools actually nurtured our inner genius? And that was the topic that I had. It's funny. It was definitely coached by. They had a story speaking coach that they appointed to us, and it's funny they was asking me questions, and I did not know that. But I knew that TEDx is mainly about ideas and your stories and what you represent from there. A lot of times when I first had my script, it was all facts and stats and all that's good, but you want to hone down and bring them stories to life. So the nurturing and when we had that discussion, what you was teaching, I thought that was great. I said I wish I had you as a teacher because all they did at that point in time when I was in school was just stay with the lesson plan that was provided to them, and they taught everybody the same way. And the only time he was able to showcase anything different outside the classroom was when they had like annual science fairs or projects or when you do diorama. That's the only time you actually could see somebody's creativity. Other than that, everybody's straightforward. I mean, current events is the same thing as anybody. Math, game 24, everything was always simple, similar. So if everything's similar and everybody's different, how can you really isolate the different types of people? So I told you, I told people that I did not know of any Black inventors back in fifth and sixth grade. I didn't know. All I knew was my favorite TV show at the time, Family Matters, with Steve Urkel. And I loved how he attempted to create inventions, solve problems. And yeah, they all of them never, always succeeded, but he never, and that's one thing I wanted to dive more on. I wanted to talk more with him and how he inspired because it was like he didn't care. I was admired by him because he didn't care what people thought about him. I always cared what people thought about him. He didn't care about being the outcast. Most people like in school, we want to be amongst the peers. We don't want to feel like we're the outsider. We don't want to feel uncommon, right? So it's like that's unpopular, quote unquote, to the students and things like that. So when I think about that nurturing, the inner genius, you never know what you have in or who you have in your classroom if you just stay strictly on the lesson plan basis type of thing. So I was I was really excited about problem solving, figuring things out at a young age, and I did not know why. You know what I'm saying? Like I was that person that took things apart, just be curious, like why this is here and why that's here, and oh, if I put that there, then this. Oh, okay, that's how you do it. And I love the freedom to do that. I mean, my parents they allow me to tear stuff up in the basement to be able to experience and explore. That's something that's not a luxury that a lot of people have. You don't have that luxury in school. What you got to space forward all day. You got to sit still. You can't talk to your peers. You got to sit. They had a whole program, and I did some research on why. And I think we was talking too of how even the evolution of how classroom settings and the purpose of the school at the period of time they was teaching people on the industrial era type of scenario where if they were factories, this is what I know. That's why it's good. You know what time is lunch. You know what you have to be doing. That's how it was structured. So it's like the creative mind of things. Now things have changed over
Things
the
have
years.
changed. And
Yeah,
as an educator, I'm going to agree with you. Things have changed, but the classroom has not.
yeah. And then the thing about it now, the public school system, and that's the topic I talked about more than anything, is the one that is kind of behind and the one that's really affected. Because even they had studies and stats that I was going to include in my speech that it didn't apply to the inner city kids. Like, for example, I know right now I'm the only one in my neighborhood that has a patent. Hands down. Look, I'm gonna tell you, I will bet all the money in the world. I know I'm the only one, and that's sad. And the reason why I say that's sad is because the fact is there was no resources out there to even advance somebody to have that thought. Can I actually do that? Career day, when they brought the people there, the same type of job offers the doctor, lawyer. Then you always get the Marine and
Yes,
Army and all
that's
that.
true.
And then let's say a cop or a firefighter, and that's it. You know, you don't have nothing else.
So everybody, all the kids, like in your mind, and even in Jamaica, they do have career day, and the kids, especially younger kids, will dress for this day, and you'll see them, the doctors, the police. So all it's the same thing that is perpetuated over and over. And I agree with you. But let's jump a little into your patent. One of your products, and you can drop your website in the chat when you find the time. You know, you don't have to do that right away, but you really have a whole bunch of stuff. One of the things I zeroed in on was you have a design patent application package. And you also have the patent ebook. And why did you create these? There you have so many products. I just zeroed in on those for now. Why did you put those out? What's the purpose? How can these help? You have, let me see here. You have the non-provisional patent package. You have the patent search report.
Let's say I have the whole shebang. I have everything that you need to get.
Talk about it.
So remember I said before, I could bet any money in the world that I'm the only one in my neighborhood that has a patent right now.
And maybe one of the few black guys that do too.
And that's not a good thing. That's nothing to brag about.
Yeah, that's true.
On my journey, remember it took me 20 years. I mentioned to people, I invented my first invention in '97. I was discouraged because they didn't give me any resource. I didn't know anything about it. That was it. Remington. They have, I'm not gonna say they took the technology. They adopted the technology, but I had that technology back in '97. It was a pair of clippers that was able to suck the hair in without it falling on the floor. I invented something similar to that. But once again, when you don't have the knowledge, and I'm gonna tell you, once again, us, black, brown, tan, melanin, they didn't have a lot of information for us to even dive in it. So what they did, they scared us off with the amount of money you have to pay. Oh, before we talk about patents, 15,000. Before we talk, the who in our area, as far as neighborhood, have 15,000 just lying around to get a patent. That scares people off, right? Well, I worked underneath my mentor, and a lot of his tactics, he was teaching me how to operate his business. He said I can use in my everyday life at home. I never knew how that can actually connect to what I was trying to do. So one day I was saying to myself, after I kept hearing all these crazy amounts to get your patent, 15,000 here. You got Davidson out there, you got event help out there, and by the time they get done talking to you, they invite you with a nice little conversation on the phone. By the time they get done talking to you, almost 3,000 out your pocket before you even get a prototype. So it's like, wait, what we doing? What's going on? But we're so like, oh, I got Davidson on the phone, or I got Ben help on the phone, and they're gonna help, and they're there to help. But it's like they had every step you wanted to go. It was always a fee with it, and you never see the ending. I wanted to see the ending first. Now the trick is, if you want to see the ending first, you got to start from the end and work to the beginning. So the ending is the patent. So how do you get a patent? I had to ask myself this question. Who has the facts? See, one of my mentors, Bob Safford, a member of Primerica, his family, big in Primerica, that's the insurance company. He said, get the facts at any price. Get the facts.
Get the facts at any price. I like that.
Get the facts at any price. So you hear the hearsay. Find out the fact. How much does it really cost? Because everybody got these crazy numbers. So I found out how much it costs. Now, the lawyer wants $450 an hour just to talk about it. So do you have that around to even talk? I mean, because they clock you, they even tell you from the gate, I'm billing you right now. So do you have 450 an hour? Now, they already know that you got to allocate almost close to about 300 hours from the time of talking to the time of drafting up your patent to the time of even submitting it to the office. So I had to cut that out of the middleman too as well. So the reason why, to answer your question, I have those products is so that now I can be the plug if you're trying to get your idea patent. I'm the one y'all probably was waiting for 20 years ago because you're trying to figure out who has the answer that can give it to me straight. And the only way you will want to get it from somebody is the person that actually been there, came back, and ready to tell the story now. I do not want to hear from somebody that said, I almost got there, I didn't get there, and now I want to say, no, I don't want that. I'm not paying for that. I want to pay the person that, because when that patent came in that mail, I felt the sense of completion.
Because a lot of you have a point there, because a lot of the people who are you actually have to go through to get the patent don't even have one.
Don't even have a patent.
So now you, right.
Don't even have even the gift of the creativity of creating.
My other question to you, what was it that you were creating at that time where you felt that you needed to, so can we go there for I'm
glad that you asked that question. So the invention that finally broke the mold of me saying, you know what, I'm not waiting no more, I'm going all in, I'm burning the boats, I'm burning the bridge, it's going to happen, even when people say it couldn't be patented. See, now watch out for them people too. So I'm at a basketball game and a mascot. That's one of my favorite pastimes. I like to go with mascots. I like to make people laugh, take pictures with, and everything like that. They had a standalone photo booth that I was trying to get people indulged in taking pictures with, but they were so anxious to get into their seats in the bleachers that they was walking past the photo booth. And I was in this costume, burning up, sweating, and I said, you know what? It will be an amazing concept if I had a miniature handheld photo booth that I could walk around and I could take over to them and take pictures with. At that moment, I was ready to get out that costume and give them back the money that they was going to pay me because I wanted to get this thing on paper. But I said to myself, let me finish what I said I'm going to finish. I'm going to commit to this thing. We're going to act a fool. I'm in the Panther costume. We're acting a fool. As soon as I got out that costume, as soon as I gave my check, I heard we got home. I drafted this thing up. And I said, we're going to find out all about the photo booth industry. So I studied the photo booth industry for a month. I did not know that it's almost like it's a whole nother world. I'm thinking, you know, we go to parties, we just take pictures and get up pictures. No, the industry is a whole nother animal. So what I was looking for, I said, all right, do you see anything that's similar to what you have? I'm researching. No, I don't. I got to come up with it. So I started to tell people, this is what you got to watch out. When you tell people what you're doing and they don't know what you're doing, it's kind of hard. So I started demonstrating. So I started bringing my device to any and every place in the city of Philadelphia. And I will bone rush myself in there. And before they even try to kick me out, I said, you want to take a picture? Hey, what is that? And then that's when this conversation started. And you're going to have people that could probably, if somebody that's in this actual conference today that know Steve, in 2019, Steve was putting his logo on other people's flyers before he even got approval of going to the events on purpose. Because I said to them, I said, look, even if you tell me no, I'm going to still promote the actual event. So we both went. And they said, you something else. We wanted to bring you in. And that's how. And this is what I'm saying. When you have something, and I told people in the last interview the other day, I said, when the idea is hot and the emotion is strong, that is the perfect time to act. Soon as it cools off, soon as it gets to the point when it starts to mold into its shape, you cannot move it no more. You cannot adjust it. You got to act on it. So I didn't care. And it's the thing, the freedom I told you about childhood, the freedom to be a child, you want to be the freedom to be creative.
Yes.
And the only time somebody can kill that is when you let somebody in your mind and tell you it ain't going to work.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Even your fears will try to tell you that. And this is what you do to show your fears. When your fears start talking that nonsense, and nobody ever said this until I started saying this. When you have the fear talking that nonsense, you show the fear your plan. If you don't have a plan, you can never combat against your fear. I don't care what nobody said.
I love that. I love that.
When you have a plan, fear has to go back and look like
this. So you
this.
show your fear your plan.
Show your fear your plan.
So and that's a listen, that is, listen, I love that, Because a lot of times we want to do stuff, you know, but you say, I'm going to do this. Like I've launched what is called the ASAP business plan work masterclass. And why? Because a lot of people go out there and start business, but there's no plan. There's no plan. And so at the end of the day, people are struggling. I can't find customers. People are struggling. I have no marketing, quote unquote marketing. You know, people are struggling. They come up with a name and the name has nothing to do with what they're doing. And so there's so much that is involved. And why ASAP is the right away. So then there's a business plan, the more in-depth business plan that you'll do to get you that you can now go to people when you want a loan. But then you need, some people just jump in, I need a plan. I love what you say, you need a plan. If you don't have a plan for anything, you can't not go to your fear, because your fear is going to tell you, you can't do this. But when you can show your fear, step by step by step, this is what I'm doing. So you could show your fear that, listen, this is my plan. This is how I'm going to work it. You know, this is how I'm going to get what I need done. I love that.
Now, sometimes the plan is not going to always be finished. Now, I told you, in order to start, you have to have the idea finished. I didn't say the plan.
Mm-hmm.
You got to see the ending before you start the beginning.
That's Stephen Covey right there. He says, see your end from your beginning.
And he got it from my man, Jim Rohn, because Jim Rohn said, when is the perfect time to build a hotel? When it's finished. But the hotel, or what you see, is still a lot. So, but when it's finished, that means the finish of the idea. So when it went from the idea, it goes to the architect. From the architect, it goes to the builder. But it was already finished in the mind first.
In your mind.
So if it's finished first.
Yes.
So what I told you, I said, give me the facts. All right, tell me about the photo booth industry. I don't know nothing about it. Give me 30 days on that. And that came from the 30-day test came from my man Earl Nightingale. Give me the 30 days on that. Whatever you want to do, whatever industry it is, spend 30 days studying the industry. Find the best person in that industry. Yep. Find out their flaws, find out their weaknesses, put your strengths in it, and make it happen. And then also, even when somebody tell you no, in the words of Les Brown, use it as your daily vitamin. If you don't have enough no's every day, and that's why I have to challenge myself, that means you're not working. You better have enough no's to, I only have about 3 no's a day. That means, how many people you have? I only have about like 5. See, the ratio's off.
Yeah, just 5 no's. You don't have enough no's. Yes.
I need more no's. I need more. I'll get back to you. I mean, not right now. Come on, give it off. Because I always want to be that one where it's going to, you know what? I remember that man. Because look, I blew my chance back in 05 when I had cell phone watches. I had to connect with cell phone watches back in 05 when people wasn't even talking about cell phone watches. But I told the wrong people. That's the dumbest idea in the world. Who the heck is going to be talking on their wrist? That's the most stupidest thing. It was on the T-Mobile network. I'm selling cars at the time. I'm trying to pitch it to them. That's the dumbest. I went, and once again, I told you from the childhood thing. I took what they said and I said, you know what? It's the dumbest thing. And then fast forward a few years later, around Christmas time, a commercial came on with Samsung and the dictation, and my phone was blowing up. I didn't want to talk to nobody. And I said, after that moment,
I told you.
forward, if you have the idea and the people can catch up, tell them to meet them at the next station. I'm not stopping. This is express train.
Just keep going. Yeah.
It's not a local train. This
right
is
there with you.
Express. And then the thing about it, the world will never believe in you until you believe in yourself. And a lot of times, most people say, I'm waiting for them to believe in me first. And it doesn't work that way.
Gotta believe in yourself first.
It doesn't work that way. Sometimes you're going to have 0 sales, but continue to keep promoting. You're not going to always be popular. Like right now, I got stuff out here that I'm doing. And that's another thing. Jake said it best. TD Jake said it best. When you finally get the taste of finishing, you then begin to respect yourself. Most people are disrespecting themselves because they're not finishing what they start. So they don't have the feeling of completion. And I understand why you want to get that feeling of completion. It's the dopamine that comes with that completion that makes you want to do something else over and over again. Most people got so many things that they don't start because they never finish that one thing. And the one thing can be the most smallest thing. The first thing I completed was my first book about gratefulness because I was an ungrateful person. So I hid it in a children's book. To tell you the truth, it was really about how I was ungrateful. But I hid what I was thinking in the children's book. And the thing about it, once I was like, you know what, gratitude and being grateful for what I have right now, that's the turning of soil. That's getting the soil ready to be fertilized by your seed. If you're not grateful, all that soil that you think that you want to plant in is going to be unfertile soil because you are building it off of disgust, envy, jealousy, and that's all of that soil, and it's going to choke it by the root. So you have to have gratitude about what's currently happening. Right now, it could be something that's not happening. You said earlier about the season, right? I'm gonna tell you the seasons of entrepreneurship. Wintertime is the most difficult time because the fact is wintertime is when everything doesn't work right. Zero sales. People don't want to buy. People don't go on the website. That's wintertime. Things are not working out right. Spring right after winter is the planting season. You plant your ideas, your goals, your visions of what you got to do. But you better be careful because spring is very short. Now in the summertime, you got to be the protector of summer. Why? Because you're gonna have the weeds coming in, and the weeds could be what I call in my book weeples, weeds that are people. They're gonna be in there. They're gonna try to choke your idea. They're gonna, but you gotta protect it. They said nurture it like a mother and protect it like a father. That's what you do to your ideas. And then if you do it right, by the time fall comes, your harvest will be there. And then what Jimmy said, do not complain about your success, but in your same breath, do not complain if it doesn't work that well. And people don't forget that part. Because sometimes you can do all the things right and your crops still don't come in. It's
That's
not because
right.
of your fault. It's because right now it's not your time.
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn that the hard way.
And you said you spoke a little, about your book, and and let's talk a little about your children's book. Um, I'm dependable, I'm not. I love the names.
Yes.
I love the names of the book. So tell us, you can introduce your different children's book and tell us about them.
There was a night I haven't had in the last 5 years. No, actually, it's been 3 years. 18, 19, about 4 years. I haven't had this night. And you got to be careful when you have this night to take advantage of it. There's going to be a night, there's going to be a time that God is going to give you a vision of something. And maybe not that time for it to come out at that moment, but you better have that pad and pen ready. That's all I'm going to say. There was a night that I couldn't sleep, but I wasn't tired, but I was in a state. It wasn't even a sleepy state. It was a state where it was like, I'm going to give you the words to these books, and I'm going to give you the titles to these books, and I'm making sure that it could be a series. And it's not the typical children's books where you see, no, we want to talk about some character building traits that if they go forth and they really indulge now, by the time they be adult, oh, they're gonna be awesome. So I love Dr. Seuss and how his books rhyme. So every book that I wrote from that night that I had that it wasn't a dream state, it was some type of state I was in. And I wrote it out and I wrote out 5 books in one night, back to back. The words were flowing. First one was because I Am Grateful was a book that I wrote 3 years prior, but I lost it in the email. And then a dream told me where it was at. And then after I found out where it was at, then that's when I started putting it to print. But I am not dependable. I am not sharing. I am not confident. And in the other 2 books that I have, they came in a dream where I started flowing and it was rhyming back and forth. That's why I knew it was God ordained. So the reason why the title is the way it is because from the naked eye of the cover, you'll be like, it seems like it's negative. I'm not dependable. I'm not. It gives you that intriguing, like, what is this thing about? Now the whole thing, even with the dependable book, Pete is the character in the book, and Squeak is the mouse, and that's his pet mouse. Pete, he doesn't know how to be dependable. He doesn't even understand what that means. He wants what he wants. He wasn't trained in that area. And through the course of the book, the mouse Squeak is trying to teach him and allow him to understand the importance of why to be dependent. Because people could count on you. When was the last time you seen a children's book that's teaching kids how to be dependable? I do that with my daughter. I do that because the thing about it, how it will build that character trait of being respectful of themselves and respectful of other people's time. A lot of people waste other people's time because they don't understand about time management. A lot of people
Mm-hmm.
are
Mm-hmm.
a person that can't be dependable because every time they give them something, there's always, I can't find it or I forgot.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in adulthood. What if you train it as a kid? By the time they become a teenager, they know I'm gonna be on here. And I struggle with that. I'm not gonna say I have everything perfect. I'll go back and I read it too to make sure I'm dependable. Because it's one
That's
thing
right.
it's one thing you let yourself down. It's another thing you let somebody else down. And how that will be effective. And if kids don't understand that at a young age, then they're doomed. I'm not saying that it cannot advance themselves later, but what if we could have, excuse my street article, what if they had like a advanced course ahead of time to allow them, like, let me just teach you the importance of why to be dependent. On the back, I says children will understand that being dependable and reliable demonstrates to others that their time is important and their peers are respected. I think if we do that more with our peers and more, we would have a better society. It would be better. We would respect more people. I mean, we had that back in the day. It's just I don't know what happened. Just things changed. But if we go ahead and hone down on that, I think the students, the kids, even the adults will have a better way of how to connect with people. That's just my belief.
And like I said, I think those are very good in terms, just like, and I agree with you, for children to teach them certain skill sets that they need, certain social skills that they
Yes,
need. I'm grateful, I'm not. I'm trying to, you have so much going on. I'm sharing, I'm not. I'm confident, I'm not. Even that is just so good, because now you're teaching, kids, just to run through, because there's some other things I want to talk to you about, just to run through so the audience can,
but you know the secret behind the title is that it's never ending. That's why I designed it that way. That's the secret. I will be writing books from the time I'm talking to you now to the time I may, Lord willing, 75 years old, because there's so many topics that the title can go and wrap around that it can be taught for students. And that's why I designed it that way. Because in the research and when you're coming out with a children's book, they said the best thing to do when you have a children's book, put it in like a series format. You look at the Dr. Seuss books. I mean, that was the one that really inspired me. It has a series format of how the different, types of books that came out with, and the way how it's formatted and how it's structured. So um, that's where I got the idea from. And and now the future book that I got outside of I Am Not Sharing, now I'm talking about the little inventor that could. That's the one coming out next year. It's a little steep. The little inventor that could, and it's gonna be a story about.
like I said, I just love what you're doing, because then, you're teaching these kids that, okay, I can do this, I can be greater, than I think I am, and the confidence and, all of that. You're teaching them how to share, and, I can be that great inventor, just like the people that I read about at school. So as
Yeah.
we talk about invention, let's move on to your games. You
Oh
see,
man,
there,
I forgot about the game. I forgot about the
um,
game.
Swiggle. Tell us a little about Swiggle.
Swiggle, to be honest with you, came to my mind 2 weeks ago. Now, yes, 2 weeks ago. So, and remember I told you before, once you complete one thing, it's so easy to complete more things because you've been there before.
Mm-hmm.
Scribble was a game that I thought that most kids need now because the fact is they're so zombified with these tablets. You don't hear playing outside no more. You don't hear jumping. You don't hear running. You don't hear laughter. Everybody had their own individual space with their tablet. And that's what I encourage my daughter to take some tablet time out, because it's like they don't even realize the time. They're so engulfed with the time that the body doesn't even move. So Swiggle came to me actually 2 weeks ago, and it's always on a Saturday morning. It's funny. And I said, man, it'd be cool if it was a game with movement and you could jump and you clap. Now, how are we going to do this together? So then I start drafting it out, and I got an illustrator on standby. He always waiting for more work. So he says, what you asking?
You must be giving them a lot of work, because you got a
Yeah,
lot of things out
he,
there.
he always hit me with an email. He always hit me. He said, "You got anything next?" I'm like, "All right, hold on for a second. Let me get back to you. I got you. I got you. So let me get my thoughts together. Because with him, I don't talk on the phone with him. I had to spell everything out, but I tell you, everything I write out in detail, he give it back to me the same way I want it. So that means you know exactly what you really want if the person can only communicate through typing and texting. So that's a good thing. I mean, he's over in Pakistan somewhere. But anyway, um, yeah, so Swiggle was a movement game. It's a nice brain break. That's what I call it, a brain break. Say, for example, if you in like probably childcare or daycare and they've been learning all day and, give the kids a little break, have a little game. It's like Simon Says on steroids, and it's very fun. And we got the soundtrack that goes along with the game, and that's the newest game because 2-in-1 and Dictionary Daddy was created last year, and that's the reason why Dictionary
I
Daddy
like
is.
dictionary. I saw, well, I don't have a copy. I don't have one, but I saw it. I like the idea too of Dictionary Daddy.
I built up with my daughter, so it's a special bond with that one. We were side by side creating that one, so it's very personal with that because not only you spend time with your children, but you show them what could be the possibility. And I pitched it to two companies. I don't want to put their name out there, and they turned me down. And I told my daughter, I said, you know what? We're gonna turn our living room into our own headquarters. We don't have a garage, but we got a living room. So yeah, they say no, but they would be back. Just that right now, and that's what I love to show her that. You hear her talk, and it's funny when you look at your children. And my daughter, she takes on the presence of talking in front of the camera and with people with so much confidence. I said to her the other day, I said, Layla, like, who taught you how to just be this vibrant? And like, that you did.
I guess you did.
It made me feel good inside because it was like she is listening to me. I'm not just yelling around the house, quoting quotes and it just no, she's and so my tip to y'all, just know that your children are always listening and watching everything.
And just to share a little, that's true because I like to tell my son that every action has a consequence. So one day I was here and I was saying every action and I heard as a consequence. I'm like, okay. So I thought you weren't listening, but you are actually listening. So yes,
they are
that is
listening.
true. Yeah,
And
they
are
are
watching.
listening. So even
And
when you think that they're not listening, they are listening. I'm like, okay. Because I keep saying it over because I'm like, this child is not getting this. And before I could finish,
it comes in their timing, and that's the thing. Having patience with it, it comes in their timing. It clicks like that one. It's like that one eureka moment. You like, aha, and you're like, I've been waiting for this aha for about 2 years, but I guess
All right. I just put your because there's just so much you have been doing, and usually we have people on, with a story and so on, but what I want to show people, the last interview we had, and this one is kind of similar, is now, you're talking about where you want to go. You're talking about where you're at. But I want to highlight to the audience, I want to highlight to the viewers what you can really do. And I'd love if you would visit Steve's website. And I just put it in. So you can go and you can visit because there's just so much. We can't talk about everything that you have there. I just love the fact that you're an inventor, you're an author. I didn't even mention that on the flyer. You make games, and there's no one of anything when it comes on to you.
When you start to understand who you are, the floodgates will open. The thing about I mentioned last week about conforming to the status quo, I tried to do that route, and I gave it my all in corporate America, and they fired me. And I remember that day like it was yesterday. It was a beautiful blue sky, birds chirping, and then when I see my shift supervisor coming in early, something was off. And the way how I ain't gonna throw that name up, but the way how this particular company does things, it's kind of smooth. And I think they do it so that you are calm, cool, and collected. But you're not a person that be like, oh, I'm so naive. Something's up. You come in early, I'm supposed to go up to regional office right now. They changing combinations to the ADT thing, and something's going on. What's going on? You get up there and they tell you the nice little thank you for your service, but I think we're going in two separate directions. And I wish you the best. We're not going to fight you on unemployment. Normally we do, but and I always was trying to find out the answer of why did y'all let me go? I never got that answer. But the thing about it, I tell you, my fear would have held me back to not want to quit. My fear would wanted me to stay. Sometimes you have to get pushed out in order for you to get activated. And I told stories about the difference
You have to
between
be
being
pushed
on.
out in order to get activated.
There's a difference between being on and activated. And I always use my analogy. When people have been coining, they coin my analogy, and I love it. Think of going to the cell phone store, and you're looking at the cell phones, and you see the cell phones, they are on, but you can't make a phone call with them because they're not activated yet. They're on. You can use them, the feature, and maybe in safe mode, but it's not on.
They're not activated. I love that.
Until it gets activated to the network, then and only then you can use it for its purpose. Until you get activated to your network, then and only then God can use you for your purpose.
I hope someone caught that. Until you get activated to your network.
Until
And I
then.
love your t-shirt, by the way.
Oh,
I believe in myself. I love that.
Because if you don't do it first, then who will? And even that, people can believe in you, but if you don't believe in you, you can't get activated by that belief. You notice that? They can say, I believe in you, you got potential, you got all this stuff, but if you're the missing component. It's like that last wire that got to go into the thing, and you that last wire, but you wait for well, you didn't say you believe in me, and you didn't say, wait a second. That's like you trying to say, I'm waiting for my ship to come in. Oh, wait a second. The ship is at the dock. You better take that rope off that thing and get on out there and let the wind take you. No, wait.
Like I love to tell people, you got to do it now. Whatever idea you have, because we keep putting things off all the time, and a lot of people do that. I want to do this, and they keep putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. And this is what I tell a lot of people: you're going to get to a particular age, and you're going to look back, and you're going to say, I should have done that. And that's what a lot of people, I think, we're similar, because I'm that person who I'm just always going. A friend of mine told me the other day that you need a break, and I'm like, and she says, yes, you need a mental break. And I do agree with her, because even when I'm talking to clients, I'll tell them, you need to take that time out for yourself, because it's true, like I don't take, like, I really am not taking any mental breaks. Like something is always popping in my head, I'm just always at it, something is always coming up. Because even now, you said something and I'm like, okay, because I look back on some pictures I had in my classroom, because I usually have the kids putting on expos, business expos, and I looked at it and I saw this huge snake and ladder that I made them make. And we all made it together. The concept, I got the concept. I don't know where it came from, and I'm always coming up with stuff. So I got the concept and I made them make this big old snake and ladder. So in the middle of the expo, I just laid it on the ground near to our expo, because all the other teachers were presenting. And so I had people just coming in, and there's a big old dice, and people would throw the dice and they will be jumping and see who would be winning. But you're on that board. And I'm like, but that's an idea right there. And I just, you do these things, you create these things as a classroom teacher or whatever, but you're not thinking, how you can use it. And you are such an inspiration. I'm just going to ask you one more thing, because time is going, and I didn't even, usually I'm watching my clock, but I'm so, and I hope that, I know that our guests are enjoying it just as much, and realize and seeing, just by listening to you, understand the potential that is inside of them. Every single one of you here today, there's potential in you. There is potential in you. So let us, so you have two other things that, I might not get a chance to dive into it so much, but you have a number of books out there, and that is how you and I connected. And you kind of have the style that I have too. I just connect to random people, and because that's me. I want to get my stuff done. I'm just going to connect. And you sent me, your book, and one off, because I thought, Like most of the persons in the group that we're in, and you're in that group, that artist group that I'm in too, I just thought that, people are saying, oh, I wrote my book, and but when I checked, I realized it was one book. You have so many books. So we talk about the children's books. Let's talk about the books and you also have t-shirts. I love the name too of your t-shirts. And let me hope I call it correctly. If I don't, please correct me. It's fine, I don't mind. Is it Mind Dopic?
So it's monopic. I created a word.
Minopic, all right.
And one thing I'm gonna add, I know you say you're short on time. I took advantage of the pandemic. So all what you're seeing was all that downtime, man. Some people squandered it with Netflix. I said, I will not get an opportunity like this where everything is level. Everybody was on the same level playing field. How can I maximize my time? And then I knew when it opened back up, I was just kept going. So that's how things started to develop. And it's something that one thing, but it's called monopic. So this is what it stemmed from. I could not stand when one of my mentors kept on calling me myopic. And I hated that word because I knew I wasn't narrow-minded. It was just sometimes the way he communicated to me, I was a visual thinker and seer. So he didn't see, he couldn't explain to me what he wanted for me in a visual context because I see images. I don't see street names. I see landmarks. So he was like, you're so myopic. And I used to be like, I'm not narrow-minded. So I tried to get a word last year and I spent the money for the trademark and I got rejected by the office. And I kept trying to get words that was already invented and try to change it and make it work for me. And I kept getting rejected. And then it was like one guy, he got a clothing line called Spurgo and he created his word. And I said, you know what? I want to create my word. And I said, monopic, let me give a definition. Monopic is going beyond the outer limits. That's the definition. I even submitted to Webster. I'm waiting for them to get back to me. That's what monopic means. Because myopic means narrow-minded, short-sighted, cannot see things. Monopic means you're going beyond the outer limits. So that's where that came from. That's where monopic came from. And then if you look at the wordings of the shirts, it's all about the mentality. And I call it, even I got a new, it's not active wear, it's not sportswear. If you see what it says, it is mental wear. Because just like you said, you are what you eat, you are what you think about. And if you are what you think about, you are what you wear. And everything that you see that's in words that's around you, they're all commands. And if those commands are not giving you the benefit of life in a positive manner, they're going to do it to you in a negative manner. So you are what you wear, you are what you eat, you are what you watch, and you are what you speak.
And just to mention, so like I'm looking at one, it says mindset is everything.
Yes.
Grow true. So there's a whole bunch. You just have you have audiobooks. And when I say audiobooks, and not just audiobooks that are connected to your books. You just have audiobooks on certain topics. You have, 5 ways to boost your mental energy. I went through this and I had to make sure it's right in front of me because there was just so much. I could not, remember everything. You have courses on Facebook, Reels, 7 Traits of a Truly Entrepreneurial Mindset Toolkit. Like I said, there is just so much. For your book, Feeding the Mind is one of the books on the Mind Mastery ebook. And like you see, you deal a lot with, helping people. And I've looked at the feedback as well. And the feedback has been awesome. You have been getting some really, really good feedback. And it's just because time is going when I'm about to cut this interview. But, just another simple person, who corporate America decided that, okay, you and I are not going in the same direction. And so you took, but even though corporate America, which would have, maybe it's true, you're not going in their direction. And because you were missing your own path. And you had to take your own path. And so you're now influencing others on so many different levels, so many different levels. I'm looking forward to collaborate with you on maybe other levels because, even in our, initial interview, you shared something with me. And as a result of you sharing it with me, and I remember this is one of the things you said, I missed out on XYZ when they came out. I never grabbed on it, but I grabbed onto this one, and this is how. And I'm not going to share. If people want to know, then they can connect with you and you can share whatever is there, or they can go to your website and see what you have available. And you said that you gave me some pointers and say, keep doing, are you doing this? I'm like, yeah. And you're like, keep doing this. And then maybe about a week or so ago, I got the message and I'm like, oh my God, it's a good thing I listened to you. So I'm still I'm hoping that we can collaborate on many different levels, because our mindsets are similar, and the person who believe. And that's why one person I described me as a pipper, that person who pushes people into purpose. And so I call myself the pip strategist. Then I have to explain what pip means, like you have created it as a new word. So now it's a PPIP, all just an acronym, pushing people into purpose. And no, I call it myself because that's what I do, push people into purpose. I know you are the mindset strategist, if I can call you that right now. And I just love what you're doing. I love what you're doing. Continue, more power to your journey. I pray that the Lord is just bless you, beyond measure. And one of the things I love about what you said at one point, you said, the Lord, God is going to give you ideas, recognizing that whatever we have does not come from us, it comes from above. And that's one of the things that I do, that even in my coaching, one of the things that I do, to the point where I had a client and I was getting off the session, and the client was like, you didn't pray. Because I made sure I ended every session with prayer. And I'm like, okay, it's appreciated. So, I just love what you're doing. I really, really love what you're doing. And like I say, I'm excited about the fact that and I'm telling you this, I speak things into being for myself. I pray about them and I affirm them with prayer. And you and I are going to be working on other levels. I just love I really, really love what you're doing. I admire what you're doing. And like I said, from one melanin to the next, proud of you, really, really proud of you. Is there anything that you'd like to say to the audience, everybody who is watching?
Don't give up on yourself. I'm really 15 years behind, because it had to take me 15 years to really start to believe in myself. You have a lot of people that you look up to at times, and they want you to go on their paths and do the things that he wants. When God gives you something, just like how when Joseph used to get his dreams, and when he told his brothers, they didn't like it, and but eventually he was the one helping them out at the end. A lot of people are not going to be for your dreams, so instead of telling them, just show them. I stopped talking and I just started demonstrating. Some people say you come out with things so rapidly. No, it's not no overnight success. You don't know what I be doing behind the scenes. I don't sleep that much. I get enough. You said about mental. What I do is I bought this book from the thrift store. I think it was a quarter. It had it was called 20-minute mental retreats. I take retreats in my mind for 20 minutes a day, and I go to places to really be at that calm and peace. And then when I get restored, I was ready to get to work. And I do things in spurts. Take time away. If you stump on something, walk away from it. Watch it come back in areas. And sometimes you're like, where the spots? You're like, there it is. Sometimes we put too much pressure and emphasis to let things flow like water. Be calm and peaceful like it. And thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Steve, for joining us here on Voices Behind the Mask, the talk show where it masks real people with real stories that are intended to impact and transform your life. I don't know about anybody today, but I've had some transformation of my own today. It was awesome having you. I'm going to also ensure that I remind everybody who is here to go and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to see this interview, if you want to watch it again, if there's something that you missed and you want to watch it again, just remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Remember to share with everybody that you know. This is not a private session. You don't have to pay for the session. Yes, you have to subscribe for the VIP room. You don't have to subscribe to the session. You can just come in free. So invite as many people as you can next week, because the season, it's interesting. This is actually episode 8. This is actually episode 8, and we will be closing out at the end of July. So we're closing out the season 2 at the end of July. Somebody just said, Kadeen Lauren said, I love that motivation. Don't give up on yourself. Yeah, and then, you know, guys, this is where you can make your comments. And if you want to ask Steve more questions, I'm going to ask somebody from the tech team to please drop the subscription in the chat. Drop the subscription in the chat so you can go. Jessica, Jessie Francis says it's very inspiring.
Thank you.
So the comments are coming in. Yes, I have been inspired. I have been inspired. I just really enjoy having you here. So the link is there. The link is there to the YouTube channel. You can also drop the link as well to the various things that we offer at Voices International. And it's now Voices International LLC. Yes. So we are an entity, we are a company. There are various products. And please, I also dropped in the chat Steve's website. You need to go there. You need to go there. I'm going shopping. You need to go there. So the subscription to the VIP lounge is there. There's also, I think the last jot form that is for the different things that I offer. Currently, we're offering, if you want to write, we are offering coaching to self-published authors. We're also offering transformational coaching. And we're also, the books, my books are there as well. So if you want to get my books, they're there. So there's a link to basically everything. The workshop that is coming up, the ASAP Business Plan Masterclass that's on. The cost of the masterclass is really $150, but the discount is there. And if you are going in, the coupon code, because the price is there, so the coupon code is PURPOSE, all caps. So you have to put in PURPOSE in order to get the discount. If you don't, you're going to pay $150. If not, if you put in the coupon, you'll only pay $50, and it's on June 4th. So if you want to start a business, jump in, join in, you're going to need this. So if you want business entrepreneurship training, that is also offered. So all of those are there. You can go, just click the link, everything is there. Florence says, Steve, great job. Oh, that's your mom.
That's my mom.
That's your mom. Hey, mom. That's your mom right there. All right. Carlene Burns says that this is mind food at the highest level. Thanks, host Alicia and Steve, the legacy. So a lot of positive feedback is coming in. And Nikisha Cooper says, living up to your name. Living up to your name. All right, so there are some great things coming in. There's some great things coming in. And please remember to share the YouTube link. Click on the YouTube link. You can go right now and click it and go and subscribe so that you can get this video at a later date. So again, please subscribe to the VIP lounge because we're about to go over. If you have VIP subscription already, you can just wait and jump into the room. If not, please subscribe and let's jump in the VIP room and chat for another 30 minutes before we close out. Again, thank you all for joining us once more on Voices Behind the Mask, the talk show where we mask real people with real stories that are intended to impact, and not just impact, but to transform your life. And remember, log in, latch on. It is now your season. This is the time for you to go, to grow, and to glow in your purpose. Steve, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence today. Thank you all. Thank you all so much. And to my audience, who is always coming, and I got calls last week. What's going on? We're not having the show this week, you know, and I do apologize. Let me take the time before I close out to apologize for last week, but I could not come on. I really wanted to do it. But it was my son's birthday, and I had everything ready to do it. And, you know, he asked me a question. And so I realized that I was not supposed to be having the show. And so I had to make a decision. I had to make a decision. I was saying, you know, it would only take me an hour to just do the show and then get back to whatever was going on. But I know he wanted me not to have the show last week. So at the last moment, I really decided that I was not going to have the show. So I really do apologize for that. But you can all see with me, I'm a new mom. So I'm trying to get used to this. Usually I'm single and I can do anything I want to do, but you know, it comes with the territory. So I do apologize. Somebody just said, you know, I really enjoy the show. Steve, you're so amazing. And the best is yet to come. And that's from Maria. And Galaxy A50 says, just outstanding job, Steve. Proud of you. Yes. And I don't know you like that. And I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. And so again, thank you all so much for coming on and joining us today on Voices Behind the Mask. Blessings, everybody. Blessings.